you, Jerry. Mr. Garrett, make it happen. Dak Prescott is leading our team right now. I need you to take Tony Romo, take a couple picks, and give them to Cleveland so you can pick me up. Please. I love to play in Dallas. Just make it happen.
Myles Garrett tried to speak it into existence. He doesn't seem to have hurt himself with the video that was taken in December and released last week, making that playful plea to the Cowboys to move up and draft him. Now, Garrett remains as the #1 pick in the draft to the Browns in Mel Kiper's mock draft 2.0. Other big names in the top 10. Mitch Trubisky is the first quarterback off the board, going second to the 49ers. Leonard Fournette going to the Jets with the 6th pick, and Deshaun Watson going to the Bills with the 10th pick. We welcome our draft expert, Mel Kiper Jr., to the show. Hello, Mel. Mel, you got me?
I got you now, Molly. You're back.
Good.
I lost you for a second.
Good. Well, thank you so much for being with us. We got a lot to get into with you. So Myles Garrett remains in the top spot. Do you think the video that was released last week will have any impact on the Browns taking him with that top pick?
No, I don't think it will. I think you look at Dallas, sure, they'd love to have Myles Garrett. They need a pass rusher who had all those sacks, 31 in his career. You look at a guy like Myles Garrett to Cleveland, though. If Cleveland makes a deal for Jimmy Garoppolo, they have the 12th pick as well in the first round, and they get Myles Garrett and also bring in Jimmy Garoppolo. That's a home run for Hugh Jackson. And the Cleveland Browns fans got to be excited because you got now the established quarterback, and you bring in the great pass rusher. What could be better than that if you're a Cleveland Browns fan?
Mel Kiper, Stephen A. here. Always great to talk to you, buddy. You need to explain to me how Jimmy Garoppolo is an established quarterback. He's been in the NFL for 3 years. He's thrown a grand total of 94 passes. He's played in 2 complete games. That's it. And now you're talking about he's an established quarterback. I didn't know your rules for established quarterback have changed so flagrantly, Mel Kiper. Could you explain that, please?
It's like the Hall of Very Good or the Hall of Fame, which is supposedly great players, right? Right, Stephen A.
That's right.
But he's played more than Mitch Trubisky, who's only been a 1-year starter at North Carolina, because that's what you're comparing him to, guys. You're comparing him to what is available this year if you're Cleveland picking #1. Do we take Mitch Trubisky? Do we take Deshaun Watson? Or do we go for Jimmy Garoppolo? They drafted Cody Kessler last year, brought in RG3. Nothing's worked for Cleveland. That really, go back to Otto Graham worked. And Bernie Kosar worked, Brian Sipe, but since then, what have you had? Okay, so I think you look at Jimmy Garoppolo, established from the standpoint of New England's had him. He's played preseason, regular season. He's also been behind Tom Brady and been with Tom Brady everywhere. And that's got to rub off a little bit. That great competitiveness for the best quarterback of all time, Tom Brady, can't hurt Jimmy Garoppolo. If you like them coming out of Eastern Illinois, remember, he was a second-round pick, not a free agent, okay? So you had your scouting report on Garoppolo going back to when he came out of the 1AA ranks. If you like them then, you got to like them now. And the key is, do you like them better than developmental quarterbacks like Trubisky and Watson? When you know, if you're Hugh Jackson, the days of being 2-14 have to end at some point. You got to start winning games. You got to close the gap between your quarterback and Dalton, Flacco, and Roethlisberger. Those are the teams you have to beat. Those are the quarterbacks you have to beat. And right now, you're in the cellar. You're a distant fourth.
So given the resources it takes to get any one of those quarterbacks, including not only the draft pick, but the money, the cap hit, and all that, is Jimmy Garoppolo the #1 potentially available guy? Talk about Kirk Cousins, potentially Jay Cutler, Kaepernick, obviously, and you mentioned Trubisky, and, of course, Deshaun Watson. Is Jimmy Garoppolo the #1 available quarterback, all things considered?
Max, I think for Cleveland, it would get down to, do you want to bring in a Mike Glennon from Tampa? I know John Gruden has a tremendously high opinion of Mike Glennon, like them coming out of NC State. Remember, Russell Wilson moved on from NC State to Wisconsin because they knew they had Mike Glennon there to step in. I think you look at various options, but Jimmy Garoppolo, I think, for Cleveland is the best. They've already made the deal for Jamie Collins. There's that relationship between New England and Cleveland. Keep in mind, Bill Belichick, where was he fired as a head coach? Cleveland. So I think you look at where they are now, these two organizations, I think that would be a move that would benefit both. You have Jacoby Brissett, who's played some. They drafted him. They have him. Tom Brady's not retiring anytime soon. They say maybe 3-4 more years for Tom Brady. Who knows? Maybe 5. He's going to be 40 in August. But I think with the Cleveland Browns, what they need to do this year is start winning games. If you draft Trubisky or Watson, they need to be developed some. Where Garoppolo is, maybe he's not established to the level of Stephen A. and what he wants, but I think from an NFL perspective and a draft perspective, he's ahead of the game coming in this year.
Mel Kiper, I'm looking at your list here, sir, and I love and revere you, sir, but I have problems with some people on this list here, Mel Kiper Jr. Like you will agree with me, right, that there's no position on the football field more important than the quarterback position. Is that correct?
Correct.
How is it that you got Chicago? They're going to, on your list, Jonathan Allen, the defensive lineman out of Alabama, who's a stud, but he's a defensive lineman. You've got Jacksonville that's got some problems with Bortles. They're talking about taking Jamal Adams, the safety out of LSU. You've got the New York Jets. God knows they need a quarterback in New York City. You got them taking Leonard Fournette. I'm at a loss as to why you've got at least 3 or 4 teams in your top 10 that are actually going to pass on a Deshaun Watson, actually going to pass on a quarterback for these other guys. Could you explain that?
You're going to be at more of a loss after I tell you why I went with what I did, Stephen A. The main thing is, if you think about the teams you mentioned, they need to win. Chicago can't go through another year or 2 losing football games. They got all this young talent on defense, and they have to start winning. That's the opportunity for a Tony Romo. The Jets, how much longer can they keep it? They can't. They better turn around. There's going to be major changes in that organization. You draft a young quarterback, you're drafting for the next coach and the next GM, okay? So that's where Romo, Glennon, Garoppolo are better options than a young quarterback. Hey, Dak Prescott, you caught lightning in a bottle, okay? That doesn't happen very often. Look at Jared Goff. He's still being developed. Wentz started strong and then tailed off some, but I think they have a bright future there with Wentz. But if you draft Trubisky and Watson, you are not going to draft them for you. You're drafting for the next guy. And I don't think head coaches and GMs, knowing that they have to win this year, are going to go that route. San Francisco, the 49ers have Kyle Shanahan. He has the benefit, as John Lynch, the GM, does, of time. They can draft Trubisky or Watson and let them develop and don't have to worry about, hey, next year I better start winning. I better make a lot of progress. Those other teams that you mentioned, they better start winning and they better start making progress.
Mel, I want to get into Stephen A's favorite team, the Cowboys. So Jerry Jones has come out and said he wants a war daddy on defense. To get that kind of guy, are they going to have to trade up for that?
Well, I think, you never know. A lot of good pass rushers, Molly, have gone from the second round on. Robert Mathis was a great player. He didn't go until like the 5th round. You think about all the great players that have gone. Elvis Dumervil was a 4th-round pick. Richard Dent went in the 9th round, okay? So there's been a lot of pass rush. Jared Allen was a 4th-round pick. I think if you look at where they are right now, is Derek Barnett from Tennessee, who had an incredible career in the SEC. Does he test so well? Is he a great collegian who may be just a good pro? He's got to show he can be a great pro like he was in college by testing well. If Derek Barnett does, he's not going to be anywhere near Dallas. If he slides down that far, it makes sense. If they want to trade up, the hot guy right now in terms of a buzz for the NFL draft as a pass rusher is Taco Charlton from Michigan. He had a dominant game against Ohio State. He had a great year overall. He's got length. He's got edge pass rushing ability, and he is going to interest teams like Carolina. You think about the Cincinnati Bengals, teams in the top part of the first round, top 10 of the first round. Carolina Panthers will be looking at Taco Charlton. So you better move up into the top 10 if you're Dallas if you want Charlton, Taco Charlton from Michigan.
Future war daddies we'll be keeping our eye on. Mel, keep your schedule open over these next 2 months. We love picking your brain, and we want to have a lot of quality time with you. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks a lot.
Enjoy it, guys, as always. Take care.